I told you you can't fit. Now wait here, I'll be back.
Do a barrel roll. Use the boost to get through.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is most certainly one of the more unique experiments done in the early 21st century of movies when you look at it, no? There are a lot of reasons why this comic book universe to film gambit paid off for Marvel, but for the sake of this video, I would briefly like to highlight two of them. One of them being, a lot of the main players and leading roles, while undoubtedly being crucial parts to Marvel lore, are largely characters that the public didn't know about or have only heard from in glancing or from another thing that wavers on the public consciousness. Not from cultural prestige like Superman, Spider-Man, or Batman, but from appearances in like cartoons, video games, or minor characters as cameos, or even none at all. Oh, come on. If you heard the name Iron Man, you would probably think of the Black Sabbath song. Captain America would only be recognizable as a forgotten 1940s comic book superhero with a penchant to show up in energy conversation PSAs.
Captain America here. I need your help battling the energy wasters. Saving energy is everyone's business, so keep it up, America.
Anything you would have heard about Thor would probably be from a Norse mythology class you took in high school, and the Hulk?
Dr. David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have.
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno, 70s television? See my point? And also they don't have to deal with the cultural presence of another version. A version that might be the same in adaptional spirit, but maybe differing in form or technicality. Point being, the average movie-going audience probably wasn't buying Nick Fury comics back in 2010, and only got their Superman fix when it came to Fleischer or Donner. But Guardians of the Galaxy? A 2008 reboot of a 1969 science fiction comic about a bunch of weird space aliens from the future? That was going to be Marvel's next big thing? I know comics and cartoons have a little bit of leniency when it comes to weird concepts like these, but there was no way that people would want to see a film like this. A talking raccoon? This ain't Star Fox. But Marvel was riding high with all that Avengers money, and they gave the film a decent amount of promotion. And to the surprise of a lot of people, not only did the film work, but it worked well. After being spirited away from a troubled life as a child in the 1980s, Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, grows up in the vast, unknown-to-humanity galaxy as a bounty hunter, dubbing himself with the moniker Star-Lord. After leaving a group of outlaws to secure a deal searching for and turning in an ancient artifact for monetary purposes, he meets up with an assassin Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, a raccoon and his talking tree friend Groot, played by Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel, and a space barbarian by the name of Drax, the Destroyer, played by Dave Bautista. They soon work out a deal that if they get the artifact to a potential buyer in the galaxy, they will be able to split the money and live peaceful lives. So time is ticking for them to escape the prison and secure the artifact until it is acquired by alien zealot Ronan the Accuser, played by Lee Pace, who's working with Marvel baddie Thanos, played by Josh Brolin, so that he can destroy the galaxy with an ancient secret hidden inside the millennia-old sphere. When looking at the film, it's clearly one of the more interesting visual gambles Marvel and Disney took up until that point, being the first big Marvel project to largely take place in a comics-inspired outer space setting. The production value is simply through the roof with this film. Sets look detailed and abstract, but also comic booky with all the color, structure, and attention paid to it, paying homage to a history of backgrounds and concepts found in vintage science fiction and space fantasy prose and illustrations. Of the Phase 2 films, this one simply knocks it out of the park in terms of wondrous outlandishness. I think people worried that it was going to look like a Star Wars movie, especially knowing that Disney was going to make more of them after buying Lucasfilm just 2 years prior, had their fears quelled when looking at the film, because visually, it looks more weird and vibrant compared to the typical fare found in other films at that point. But for a big outer space movie, the tone is largely playful and sarcastic when compared to other films of its ilk. It's aware that it shouldn't take itself too seriously, but never goes to self-parody or suffer from tone inconsistency either. It's a smart alecky movie for sure, filled with concepts that, on paper, feel like they should not work, but actually come off as engaging and genuine.
That is the most real, authentic, hysterical laugh of my entire life, because that is not a plan.
It's barely a concept. You're taking their side?
I am Groot.
So what? It's better than 11%. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
Thank you, Groot. Thank you.
Pratt is a great choice to play the idiot outlaw type, especially if you were familiar with his previous works at the time.
We made like 100 million doctor's appointments for ourselves in 1 week. After this, we won't have to go to the doctor for like 10 years. Because we're smart.
Saldana is a perfect counterpoint for the team's antics.
I'm gonna die surrounded by the biggest idiots in the galaxy.
Bautista excels greatly here, playing a kind-hearted but absent-minded barbarian greater than any wrestling event could ignite in him from, what I've heard at least. And Rocket and Groot are wonderfully animated and voiced, given how weird the characters are and how they both fit into the movie. Cooper's Rocket Raccoon comes off as a likable jerk, but also sympathetic with an implied backstory of experimentation and abandonment. And Vin Diesel's Groot, while just Pokemoning with various tones and inflections of I am Groot over and over, is charming and easily puts the tree creature as the most morally centered and innocent of the group. Special consideration also goes to the on-set individuals for bringing these characters to life, with an actual raccoon even! Michael Rooker's Yondu, Benicio del Toro's Collector, and Karen Gillian's Nebula are also fun characters that have their moments as well. The only shortcomings I can find with the cast are the secondary characters. Pace's Ronan is a fun villain, a genocidal alien who wishes to kill an entire civilization with the force of space and his hammer, but isn't really fleshed out as much as I would want him to be, even though I think he's one of the more memorable MCU villains that hasn't been ragdolled by the Hulk or decapitated someone with a car door. John C. Reilly and Glenn Close's characters are severely underplayed in the film, which is odd considering that they're great actors. Considering the roles that they play in the film, their appearances here seem to fill the need for setting up the Nova Corps, an intergalactic police force not dissimilar to DC's own Green Lanterns. But unless we see something in the future with Captain Marvel or either Avengers sequel, it may just be another lingering thread like Hugo Weaving's Red Skull and anything having to do with the 2008 Hulk movie. It's funny to hear them bounce off the main cast's sophomoric lexicon though.
Do you believe him?
I don't know that I believe anyone's 100% a dick, man.
I mean, do you believe that he's here to help?
Mention also needs to be made to the film's soundtrack. Not just the licensed music, but the orchestrated score is also quite nice and easily the better ones out of the MCU thus far, with big sounds evoking an earnest sense of triumph, emotion, or existential idea. I think the film is different enough from the usual movie fare that I think, if you haven't seen it yet, is worth a watch even if you're sick of all these dang superhero movies. The characters are different enough in individual dynamics from the typical superhero team, and they all have great charisma working off of each other. It acknowledges the silliness of the whole thing, but not to an extent where it leg sweeps its own reason for existing. I'm glad that Marvel took a gamble on this movie, as it seems to be the movie to emulate nowadays, which is an interesting accomplishment for a film that many were wary of. It's simple. Does Volume 2 look interesting? Then go see Guardians of the Galaxy and get hooked on a feeling, for the first time or the 25th time. I'm Maximum Austin. Until next time, keep being confident and you enjoy your day. Excelsior.